state of music is always changing as we slowly embrace a full digital life revolution, uploading acapellas, drum beats, and guitar riffs to the World Wide Web from one countryside to the next. It's an international love affair, and new music is our gift to the free world. Our freedom of expression is only limited by our creativity, so we stand together, and because of it, our voices are unlimited. We represent every corner of the world as we broadcast our message to every country, state, city, and town. Our supporters have expressed tremendous gratitude for taking the high road and giving them free music again to the world.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. Tonight we are going to be exploring something I have been thinking about for quite some time. In fact, we have explored this very idea a few times, and that is the overwhelming amount of similarities that we get to see between cults and their behavior and cult tactics, things like group dynamics, mind control, and more, as it relates to the UFO community. Is the UFO subculture a cult? I've been here long enough to tell you that I believe that the UFO subculture has an incredible amount of similarities between cults and the UFO subculture, or so-called UFO community. We see an incredible amount of similarities, and I have seen these cult-like behaviors and cult-like tactics ramping up lately. One can just look at UFO Twitter and see that there are an incredible amount of examples of this. Things like controlled information. Only certain people can get that certain information. Tactics like people mocking you or humiliating you because you have different beliefs from them. The there is certainly a great number of similarities, and we're going to get into all of those tonight. But before we truly begin, I just want to mention that there is certainly examples of cult-like behavior even here. And some of these brainwashed cult members who come here with their beliefs, they're firmly established beliefs, who like to argue with me. We did a show on Randy Kramer, and I'm going to say this as plainly as I can. Randy Kramer is a stolen valor fraud and a scammer, a proven scammer. So for somebody to come here and argue with me that he's a genuine, real super soldier insider working for top secret government projects is a perfect example of cult-like behavior. And we are going to see that perfect example here. So let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to just go to our YouTube comments where we can see, you know, there is a incredible amount of cult-like behavior that goes on in the UFO community. And I can show you specific examples of things that even come here that are certainly very, very cult-like. And now why can't I find this? Yeah. Okay, so let me see if I can't. You know what? I'm just going to read them. I'm getting them in my notifications, but for some time, I don't know why I don't see it on the actual video. Let me see if I can. Okay. Boy, this is going to be tough. So we have a Nicholas Wolf who says, Randy Kramer passed a polygraph. If he was lying, he would be committing a felony. He has been reported to the FBI hundreds of times over the past decade. Nothing has come of it. Those are talking points. Those are talking points of Randy Kramer's that this brainwashed cult member apparently is repeating here, that he has been reported to the FBI hundreds of times. I checked with the FBI. They have no record of anyone reporting Randy Kramer for stolen valor or anything else. If people call and make a criminal allegation against somebody to the FBI, there's a report of it. There's no reports. So Randy Kramer is also lying about hundreds of people reporting them to the FBI. If hundreds of people reported him to the FBI, there would be some records that we could find of those reports. There is no records. And I mentioned, show me the polygraph, who administered it, what were the questions, can I see the charts? He's a fake, no records at all. He's a fraud. On the polygraph, show me the evidence of that. You can't. I also tell him, show me the FBI reports. There are none. Did you check with his claims being reported to the FBI with the FBI, or are you again just repeating his talking points? He has never shown evidence of that, because there is none. If I'm wrong, I'll admit that. So go ahead, go to the FBI and get me copies of the complaint reports. There would be paperwork if people were reporting him, lots of it. Go find it. Nicholas tells me that the polygraph was administered by a man. Hold on one second here. Why can't I find it now? Yeah, and I go on to say that I'll check on the polygraph, but National Personnel Records Center would have his records. They do not withhold service records, even from people in special projects. These are the cult-like tactics. The cult leader says, oh, you can't find my records because I'm involved in special access projects. That's not how this works. Even if you're involved in special access projects, even if you work at Area 51, if you're in the military, as Randy Kramer claimed, being a super soldier, Marine, he says he's active duty United States Marine Corps. There would be records of him being active duty United States Marine Corps in the National Personnel Records Center. There is none. Further, this person goes on to say that a man named Brian Hoff is the person who administered the polygraph exam. And there's something curious about that. Here's the mention of Brian Hoff that I found on a website, Sleep Tight, Colorado. Everyone deserves a warm night's sleep. And this is a nonprofit organization that this person works for. Brian is a former high school English teacher and now is a polygraph tester and debate coach for his former high school. That's the guy, Brian Hoff, who administered a polygraph, who, by the way, lives in Colorado. Who else lives in Colorado? Randy Kramer. What is his association with Randy Kramer? What is his background? What are his qualifications to administer a polygraph? Can we see what questions were asked? Can we see the charts from the polygraph? And I can have an independent polygrapher look at those charts. This is garbage. And this is the level of cult-like behavior that these people use in defending their cult leaders. Randy Kramer is a fraud. He's not a Marine. He's not a Navy SEAL. He's a fraud. They need to generate excuses for this. So the excuse is, well, he works in special access projects, so you can't get his records. That's false. That is completely and totally factually incorrect. Even people that work in secret projects, top secret bases, wherever, their records are available. And by the way, I just posted a members only and Patreon only video that shows what happened when I forced a show host to ask him about his military background. Do you know what dear leader did? He started yelling and screaming and cursing, and he threatened to hurt people who come up to him in person and ask him about his military background. He threatened people with violence and refused to show any records of his military service. That is because he is a fraud. That's exactly how a stolen valor fraud reacts. They lash out and they go on the attack. Randy Kramer is a fraud. So don't come here with your nonsense. This guy, a high school English teacher, is the guy who gave him the polygraph. Great. And by the way, I'm going to contact him and ask him to see the charts. And by the way, I'm going to contact him and ask him how many years he's been given polygraph. And does he have any association with Gaia TV? Did you know that Gaia TV claims that people pass polygraphs? You know, the same company. Yeah, the same company that uses human body parts and geez, what happened there? The same company, Gaia TV, who sells stories involving human body parts being glued together, claiming they're aliens, also has a polygraph examiner. Is that Gaia TV's polygraph guy? I think it might be, right? So you come to me with wackadoo nonsense, Mr. Cult Guy, right? And why do you got to get so angry or make excuses for real and verifiable facts? Because we have real and verifiable facts. And here are the facts. Randy Kramer is not now, and was never a member of the United States Marine Corps. Never. Do you know what he said in that clip I posted? By the way, I'm going to post that clip this weekend of Randy Kramer freaking out when he was forced to answer questions about his so-called military credentials. Do you know what happened? He started yelling and screaming, claiming that he has RFID dog tags behind his ears. And that's his proof that he has military service in the Marine Corps and that he's a real Navy SEAL. We're going to look into that. And by the way, for the benefit of the cult-like people who want to come here and argue with me, I have a whistleblower that knows where he was when he claimed that he was a Navy SEAL fighting cocaine drug kingpins in South America. I know someone who worked with him, while he was claiming that he was a Navy SEAL fighting people in South America. We have on the record from an on-the-record witness that worked for him at the time he claimed that he was a Navy SEAL fighting drug kingpins in South America. So this cult-like believe at any cost. This is cult-like. when confronted with evidence, this is how a cult operates. They attack you, they belittle you. He made personal insults to me. You must be lazier than I thought. This is going to be easy, right? Yeah, I'm lazy. Randy Kramer is a fraud. And the fact that these cult-like behaviors, right? Do you know who else viciously starts humiliating and attacking critics of their leader? Scientology. Or their beliefs? Scientology. No one can argue that fair game or the cult-like tactics of cults like Scientology aren't cult-like tactics. They are. And we see the same exact tactics being employed here. I presented facts, verifiable evidence that any researcher or reporter, anyone can go after me and verify that what I have said is entirely factually accurate. Randy Kramer is not now, nor has he ever been, a member of the United States Marine Corps. Not in the special section, not in a USAP program, in no program. He was never a United States Marine, period. He was never a United States Navy officer, and he certainly wasn't a Navy SEAL. There are lists of everyone who's ever graduated SEAL training and became a SEAL. Guess who's not on there? That's right, Randy Kramer, because he's a fraud, a con artist, and you fell for it. These are the tactics, and this is the brainwashing. Do you notice how that person almost word by word repeated the talking points of Randy Kramer? That's what he did. He repeated Randy Kramer's talking points. I passed a polygraph, right? And I would have been arrested by now. Well, we're going to look into that. We are going to look into that, and we're going to get on the record statements after we've sent the evidence that he's a fraud to the United States Marine Corps and to the Department of Defense and to his local law enforcement agency. And we're going to find out why he's allowed to continually claim that he's a United States Marine Corps member and a Navy SEAL and use that to scam people, to claim that he's legitimate because he was in the military. Give me money. That's a form of fraud. So we're going to follow up. Congratulations. I don't think your cult leader is going to be very happy that you just gave me additional information on him. Additional information that we will forward. These cult-like tactics and behavior I have seen time and time again, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. So we're going to begin to break some of this down. We're going to begin with a bit of an article on cults. And now this is a general article on cults, but as I read this to you, I want you to think about some of the things that you yourself may have experienced and the behavior you may have seen or experienced in the UFO community. Some of you may even find some of these things incredibly familiar, having been true believers of people like Dr. Stephen Greer or Corey Goode or David Wilcock or Lou Elizondo for a time. So cults have been the topic of intrigue and fear for many years. These groups often use tactics of manipulation and control to keep their members in line and maintain their power. These tactics can include psychological manipulation, psychological isolation, and the use of fear and intimidation. Kind of like threatening people with violence who ask you to see your military records. Yeah, that's a form of intimidation. And why would Randy Kramer essentially say, if I'm at a UFO conference and anybody asks me for proof of my military service, I'm going to punch them in the face? That's an intimidation tactic. He's trying to stop people from standing up at a UFO conference and saying, excuse me, you're a fake Marine, pal. It's a form of intimidation. One tactic that cults use often to control their members is psychological manipulation. This can often include using techniques such as gaslighting, which is a form of manipulation that makes a person question their own sanity. Cult leaders may also use techniques such as love bombing, where they shower new members with attention and affection in order to gain their trust and loyalty. Oh, love and light, we're so glad you're here with us. We're so glad you found us. Another tactic cults use is physical isolation. Now, this may be somewhat unrelated. But maybe not. This can include cutting off members from their friends and family, or even moving the group to a remote location. This isolation can make it difficult for members to leave the cult, and it can also make them more dependent on the group for their survival. Now, besides physical isolation, I've noticed that, there is certainly a form of punishment, psychological punishment for people who leave a cult. Look what happened to Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review. He is, look on his Twitter, still to this day, he is getting harassed, threatened, intimidated, and gaslit every day since he left the cult of Lou, right? There's a perfect example of cult-like behavior in the UFO community. Cults also use fear and intimidation to control their members. This can include threatening to harm members or their loved ones if they leave the group, or using physical violence as a means of control. Cult leaders may also use the threat of spiritual punishment or eternal damnation to keep members in line. Yeah, and the threat of being banished from the group is often employed in UFO circles. Well, if you're going to go speak out against dear leader, you're not welcome with us anymore. Great. These tactics of control and manipulation are commonly used by cults to maintain power and control over their members. It's also important to understand that cults prey on people who are vulnerable and looking for a sense of belonging. And I can't lie, we've all had that, like feeling like I'm a kind of a strange weirdo, right? And then you get involved in these groups and you go, oh, I'm not alone. There's other weirdos like me. And you do get that sense of belonging that maybe a lot of people really are lacking, that sense of belonging, right? And I just wanted to say that if you are feeling cult-like tactics, it's important to seek help, especially psychological help. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so please do seek a qualified medical or psychological professional to help you. If you're feeling manipulated or brainwashed or any of that, certainly I encourage you to seek out help. This is not where you find it. This is for educational purposes only. All right. And cults and mind control. I wanted to talk for a moment about that because cults have long been associated with mind control and brainwashing techniques, which are used to manipulate and control members. And these techniques can have serious and long effects on an individual's mental and emotional well-being. One of the dangers of cult mind control is the loss of personal identity. Cult members may be encouraged to adopt a new identity, including new beliefs, values, and behaviors, which can lead to a loss of self. This can make it difficult for an individual to reintegrate, into society, and can lead to feelings of confusion and disorientation. Cults also use tactics of isolation and manipulation to create a sense of dependency on the group. I have seen this firsthand. Let's just say I was a member of a certain distribution network for audio podcasts centered around UFOs and the paranormal. And essentially, I was told that my show would be without them, my show would take a nosedive in numbers and nobody would listen to me. And my show would be a complete and total failure without them and their help and their assistance and being part of that group. Not so. I am, by the way, my numbers are single-handedly beating that entire network's numbers now. So that'll tell you that that's certainly, bull when people try to manipulate and control you inside of a group. Another, cult leaders can use threats of physical harm or spiritual punishment, as we mentioned before. And it's important to note that cult mind control can also lead to serious physical health problems. Cult members can be encouraged to engage in extreme or dangerous practices, sleep deprivation, and more. These practices can have serious health consequences, and the psychological effects of being involved in a cult or cult-like group can last for years after a member leaves. Okay, it's important also to understand that cults prey on people who are vulnerable and looking for a sense of belonging. We have seen this time and time again. Corey Goode preys on vulnerable people. David Wilcock preys on vulnerable people. Others, Stephen Greer, vulnerable people who want to believe in aliens, right? They can often use tactics of manipulation and control to exploit these vulnerabilities and keep people under their spell or control. It's important to be aware of these tactics and to seek help if you or someone you know may be involved in a cult. It's important to encourage those who may be experiencing cult-like behaviors or groups to seek professional help. Counseling and support groups can provide individuals with the tools they need to break free from the cult's grip and regain control of their lives. Now, I wanted to talk for a minute about the prevalence of these cult-like leaders. And we have all probably witnessed this certain behaviors that we have seen. And one of them is a charismatic leader that you're not allowed to question, or you get punished in the form of humiliation, doxing, threatening, intimidation, right? We have seen that happen in the case of Lou Elizondo. Do you remember? Somebody made a film about Lou Elizondo. I hosted that filmmaker. The next thing I know, my address is getting blasted out on the internet, my legal name. People are threatening my wife by name in our live chat, threatening my family, trying to humiliate me, discredit me, attack me, humiliate me, harass me online every day. And that went on for months and months and months. And isn't it interesting that these people that are so cult-like in their devotion to dear leaders like Lou Elizondo, Corey Goode, David Wilcock, Stephen Greer, Linda Moulton Howe, Richard Dolan, or others, or to a lesser extent, this Randy Kramer. But it's interesting in several of these cases that some of the so-called disciples of these people, their cult members, are literally willing to risk criminal prosecution and commit criminal acts to attack critics of that leader. That is a cult-like tactic, and we have all seen it unfold here. The perfect example is Lou Elizondo. Somebody made Area 503. He made a film that did not paint Lou Elizondo in a wonderful light, right? It was very critical. And so he makes a film. He's attacked. His girlfriend is attacked. He's threatened, intimidated, harassed, cyberstalked, bullied, doxed. People releasing all of his private information online and encouraging people to go after him. People were encouraged to go after me. And what was my sin? I hosted a filmmaker and we talked about the film. This is a perfect example of the cult-like behavior in the UFO community. I'm not allowed to host a filmmaker. If I host a filmmaker you don't like, you're going to threaten my wife in the live chat. You're going to look up all the information you can about me and release everything you can, my address, where I live, how many children I have, right? And then you're going to encourage people to, quote, go after me. We need to go after him. That's what people said. And by the way, they did it publicly. Some of these people are so stupid that they did it publicly, and I still have the clips. I have videos of people encouraging people to, quote, go after me. After they doxed, threatened, cyberstalked, harassed me and my family, then they're telling people to, quote, go after me. That is typical cult-like behavior. That is exactly akin to what is generally called fair game by Scientology. And that means you go destroy critics of your group by any means necessary. You sue them, threaten them, intimidate them, harass them, film them, right? Call their neighbors and tell them what horrible people they are. All methods are on the table with fair game. Whatever you have to do to destroy that critic and shut him down and shut him up, you do. And these same cult-like, very similar cult-like activities take place within the UFO community. There are people literally committing crimes in the defense of Lou Elizondo. There were people literally committing crimes in the defense of Corey Goode and other UFO cult leaders. So I thought we could talk for a moment about the cult leaders. Cult leaders are often characterized as charismatic and powerful individuals who hold a great deal of influence over their followers. However, many experts believe that many cult leaders also possess traits of narcissism, a personality disorder characterized by, pay close attention, an inflated sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy towards others, and a strong need for admiration. Have we seen that before? These UFO celebrity cult leaders, they have a lack of empathy. They all have a lack of empathy. They don't care who they scam. They don't care who they rip off. Oh, little old lady on a disability check, send me $333 for my new course, lady. They don't care who they victimize. They don't care who they scam out of money. They have a lack of empathy. We have seen it time and time again with people like David Wilcock, Corey Goode, Stephen Greer, and others. They just don't care. And they all have a inflated sense of self-importance, right? Lou Elizondo is the savior of disclosure. Then again, so is Corey Goode. David Wilcock is the world's most important prophet because he dreamed it. You know, he of course certainly has a bloated sense of self-importance. Stephen Greer, he's the savior of disclosure. He's going to bring us disclosure. Yeah, since at least 2001, 10 years before that, right? Since 1991, Stephen Greer's been running around promising disclosure, and he essentially has this big vacuum cleaner sucking every dollar and every dime he can out of the UFO community since at least 1991, as near as I can tell, right? But he's going to bring us disclosure. Just keep giving him money. He's the savior of disclosure. And if you notice, these UFO celebrity cult leaders, and by the way, we're speaking in general terms. I may give some examples of specific individuals, but you can fill in the blanks here. I don't need to do it for you. But we have certainly seen that these people have inflated senses of self-importance. They certainly have a lack of empathy, and they have a strong need for admiration. They always want to be in the spotlight. They're hugely important. They need tons of money, right? Narcissistic individuals often have a grandiose sense of self, believing that they are superior to others and entitled to special treatment. This can make them appealing to potential cult members who may be drawn to the leader's confidence, cult members who may be drawn to the leader's confidence and sense of self-assurance. Narcissistic cult leaders may also use their charm and charisma to manipulate and control their followers, making them more susceptible to their influence. Narcissistic cult leaders often lack empathy, making it difficult for them to understand or care about the needs or feelings of others, including their own victims. This may make them ruthless in their pursuit of power and might and control. And we have seen this ruthlessness. Look at the case of Corey Goode. He's right now like 8 people and a multi-million-dollar corporation, right? He's willing to literally do whatever it takes in his pursuit of power and control of the narrative called secret space program. It's ridiculous. Many of these cult-like leaders are willing to use any means necessary to maintain their position. Narcissistic cult leaders may also be more prone to using manipulation, deceit, lies, and even threats of violence. Where have we seen that before? Corey Goode's paying people to take pictures of his critics' houses so that they can make videos to threaten, intimidate, and harass them, right? That's manipulation. That's deceit, and that's being willing to use any means necessary to control things. Narcissistic cult leaders also have a strong need for admiration and validation. They may demand constant adulation and praise from their followers, creating a toxic and unhealthy dynamic. They may also use their followers as a source of narcissistic supply, deriving a sense of self-worth from their followers' loyalty and obedience. Does any of this sound familiar yet? This stuff perfectly describes some of these UFO celebrity cult leaders. It's important to note that not all cult leaders have narcissistic personality disorder, however, and not all narcissists become cult leaders. However, the combination of lack of empathy, a need for admiration, and a desire to control make narcissistic individuals more likely to become cult leaders. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we've all seen our fair share of narcissists and narcissistic personality disorder in the UFO community. It's important to understand that cults and cult leaders prey on people who are vulnerable and looking for something to believe in or a purpose in their life. Yeah, and so you notice this behavior, especially among the so-called disclosure people. I've noticed it, like, we got to move the ball down the field. We all have to work together and this and that. And we're on a mission. We're on a mission here. No, you're not. You're some dork on the internet talking about aliens and flying saucers, bro. You're nothing important. But again, it gives them a sense of meaning. It gives them a sense of purpose. Instead of waking up and feeling like, well, I'm just some loser on the internet. No, I'm a warrior for disclosure, right? I am a warrior for disclosure. Sure you are. So I am going to, I'm going to check in with the live chat and make sure that we missed one. I'll be reading all of the super chats. We read every single one. Thank you for your kindness. Steve Nicholson. Stephen has single-handedly levied a tax on most of the grifters doing the UFO circuit. Don't worry, son. We got your back. Thank you, Steve Nicholson. I appreciate your kindness. I appreciate your generosity and your continued support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. Here's Trixie to thank you for helping us to praise the cash.
This is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna need a fake med bed to bring me back to life.
She needs a fake med bed, Steve Nicholson. Yeah. And so I have some more to share, which is more specific examples and, sort of things that we can discuss here. I'm going to just check in real quickly. Let me just check in real quickly with the super chats and make sure we didn't miss another one, but I think we got them. No, we didn't. We missed Amy WC with a kind and generous $5 super chat. Let me see if I can't scroll back far enough to find that. Amy WC, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. It must have been very early on. There we go. We got it. All right. We are all caught up now. Thank you, Amy WC, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. And for helping us to praise the cash,
This
Amy.
is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna teleport myself on board a sexy tic-tac UFO. Thank you for your generosity.
I think I want to get on that tic-tac myself. All right, so I had some... Oh, and Debbie from SAC with a kind and generous $5 super chat. Also, thank you for being a member. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. I'm trying to find a different one here. Oh, these are all longer ones. I'm sorry if this is... Oh, let's try this one.
This is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, I'm gonna need a fake med bed to bring me back to life.
Oh, I played the same one. Sorry about that. I apologize. There's only so many of these bumpers. I got to organize them better. But thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. And 1 second here. I had... I missed it here. Let me find my notes. Yeah, so I'm gonna monitor the live chat. Yes, I'm fired. Thank you, sweet Caroline. I'm fired. You know what? We'll just play another one to make sure that we yeah, here. We'll just play another one, Sweet Caroline.
This is Trixie reporting for Truthseekers UFO Desk, where we give you absolutely no gimmicks whatsoever, just the truth. And tonight, I can exclusively reveal that a UFO has been spotted above Connecticut. It is a tic-tac shaped UFO, and it is so hot. I really hope you guys can get out your incredibly long telescopes and point them in the direction of Connecticut, because you are going to see something so incredible. Back to you, Stephen.
Well, thank you, Trixie Luce. Yes, so no, Trixie is an unemployed stripper. You know, the pandemic was tough on strippers, so we thought that we would do our part here at Truth Seekers and help out and give Trixie Luce a job being the UFO desk. But she doesn't show up to work most days, and you know, yeah. It's a woman called Intel Lady, Deb from SAC. Just look up Intel Lady on YouTube. She does a lot of funny characters and stuff. She's a friend of the show, and I'm a friend of her show. You might want to check her out. But thanks for your interest. Yeah. Yeah, her job must blow. You're so kind. Yeah, it's the least I could do. Yeah, my wife is blonde and beautiful, but she's a little more petite. Yeah. Oh, they're both beautiful women, Deb from SAC. I would be a lucky man. You know, I'm a very lucky man myself, though. No complaints. I can't complain. She'll murder me, right? All right, so I had some other notes here. All right, so I wanted to talk for a moment about preying on vulnerable people. The UFO community preys on vulnerable people, and I have seen very specific examples of that. And they also use vulnerable people as sources. What do I mean? Well, I can show you specific examples where people like David Wilcock and people like Kerry Cassidy have used literal criminals who can't find work because they're convicted felons. And I believe they coach them and help them tell fake stories that they then, you know, say, well, my insider source. That is a form of manipulating vulnerable people. They're manipulating somebody who's vulnerable. If you can't find a job and somebody came to you and said, look, we'll give you a few $100, just stand here on this camera and talk about what we tell you to talk about. And if anybody asks, you're our insider whistleblower, are you going to do it? Of course you're going to do it. There is also an issue of the exploitation of both senior citizens, I've seen it, and the exploitation of mentally ill people. Some of these people telling stories about aliens and UFOs are indeed mentally ill. I have seen people that I was sure were schizophrenic. And largely that is due to having grown up with schizophrenia in my family. I am sure that I have seen people in the UFO community being used, right? Like, come on my show and tell your alien abduction story. And that person was severely mentally ill. And instead of doing the right thing and, you know, talking that person off the ledge, maybe getting them some help, what do people do? They profit from a mentally ill person telling stories about aliens. This, again, is taking advantage of vulnerable people. I have also seen and heard from many, many people who are on disability or SSI or Social Security retired, telling me horror stories of sending people, I'm not even going to say who, but it's always the same people I hear about that these people are sending money to. Oh, I didn't have any money for my medication this month because I had to give so-and-so $333. Great. Those are vulnerable people, and they're being taken advantage of, even targeted. Did you know that there are specific UFO grifter personalities that specifically are specifically tailoring their stories to get that older audience interested, right? We've seen examples of this. Corey Good's telling people that hot dudes from Venus are coming here to bang old broads, right? People are being taken advantage of. Now, so taking advantage of vulnerable people is a cult trait. Now, let's talk for a moment about illegal activity. This is the elephant in the UFO community room that nobody talks about. Do you know how much criminal activity goes on in the UFO community? If we, just forget about anything else and only focus on fraud, the UFO community, whether anyone will believe it or accept it or, talk about it, and most people won't, the UFO community is filled with con artists, fraudsters, liars, grifters, literal criminals, and those are just the good guys. The UFO community has a real problem with fraudsters infiltrating because I think there's various reasons why a con artist looks at the UFO community and thinks, this will be a good way to scam people out of money. You're talking about people that believe in extraordinary things with little or no evidence, a whole group of them, subculture of them. You're talking about people who have a little disposable income, are interested in strange and esoteric things, and buy books, buy documentaries, buy DVDs, buy expensive courses. There are UFO cruises that you could go on that cost $3,000. That's insane, but it is what it is. So I believe that con artists, scammers, and grifters and opportunists look at this community and they think, these are some easy marks. These are easy people to scam. And they are, by and large. Don't be one of them. But there's other illegal activity that goes on, a great deal of it, like cyber stalking, intimidation, harassment, and more. There's even been literal murders committed because people were too deep in this thing. But as far as the illegal activity goes, or let's parse this out. There's illegal activity, and then there's immoral and unethical activity. The UFO community is filled with both of those things. And I find it great that all of the top tier UFO celebrities never talk about any of it. Never. It's like an unspoken rule. Don't talk about all the pedos that are involved in the UFO community. Don't talk about all of the people in the UFO community that pled guilty to fraud-related charges in their past, proving that they have scammed people before they came here and they continue to scam people while they're here. Let's not talk about any of that. Let's not talk about any of this stuff because it's bad for business, right? We're respectable UFO researchers. No, you're not. You're a bunch of con artists and scammers and criminals, most of you. So let's set aside the illegal activity for a while and just talk about the immoral activity and the suppression of information. In the UFO community, information that paints anyone in a bad light is suppressed. We have witnessed ourselves that for a long time, a bunch of top tier UFO celebrities were working with and for a convicted child rapist, a violent one, violent child rapist. And nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about it. They all just kept their mouth shut. All of them knew, to the best of my knowledge and understanding and research on that matter, all of them on that network, with a few exceptions, some of the newer ones didn't know. People knew that paranormal network, and I'm talking about KGRA, was being run by a man with criminal convictions in his past for child-related sexual offenses. And these people all kept their mouth shut that worked there. They all kept their mouth shut that put their show there. Why did they do that? because they had a financial motive. They were getting paid from them, so they had to keep their mouth shut to keep those checks rolling in. That's a great example of immoral and unethical behavior. And it's also a great example of the suppression of information. When you are in a cult, anything that paints that cult in a bad light, any information that would shed a bad light, any dirt on that cult is suppressed and kept from the members of the cult. Does this sound familiar to this KGRA situation? What about Jimmy Church? He worked there for years, right? Why didn't he say something? Information suppression is a cult-like tactic, right? And let's talk for a minute. Have I ever looked into William Henry? Yes and no. Not a full deep dive. And I generally, Victorious Eagle Andrew, you're a longtime show supporter, so you probably understand that I like to really dig in before I put my mouth in gear. So you'll forgive me if I save William Henry for a future episode, but I will tell you this. I will make a note that you asked about William Henry, and maybe we'll move him a little further up on my to-do list, and we'll see what we can find out about Mr. Henry and report on. And we want to thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Thanks for helping us to praise the cash.
This is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, those blue chickens will turn green.
The blue chickens are going to turn green. We need better material. Yeah. But thank you, Victorious Eagle Andrew, and good to see you. Longtime show supporter. I'm always happy when I haven't seen somebody in a little while in the live chat or noticed them. Pardon me. Wrong pipe. So let's continue to talk about this suppression of information. UFO celebrities and cult leaders, we've seen specific examples of these UFO cult leaders and celebrities living in a delusional bubble. Look at Corey Goode's videos. Go find me anybody asking him why he lied in his depositions or why he lied to everybody. He had to lie one of those times. Either he was lying for the past 8 years when he said he was in a secret space program, or he lied in his deposition. Go find for me anybody asking questions about that in his video comments. You can't, because they're all deleted. Again, that is another example of the suppression of information that a cult would use. They don't want their followers to see any derogatory information. So their social media accounts, their Twitter, their Facebook, their YouTube comments are all carefully manicured and curated to prevent any of their followers from seeing any derogatory information. Control or suppression of information is a cult tactic to control members and followers. And we have that. I can cite you many, many more examples. Go ask Gary Nolan a question on Twitter. He'll block you. Again, suppression of information. It's a cult-like tactic. David Wilcock, go look at his blog posts and look for replies that say you're a wackadoo or you lied about this or you lied about. You won't. And again, his YouTube comments, his Twitter, everything is carefully curated so that his followers looking at those pages don't see valid, real questions, don't see anything that would not paint them in a great light. All you see is people heaping praise on them. Oh, you're doing so much for disclosure, David. Thank you, right? What about all the people who are asking questions like, where's the hover cars, David Wilcock? What happened to all that money you scammed everybody out of for your charity? What charity work did you do, David Wilcock? And let's be clear, I know people are asking, people send me screenshots all the time and then say, oh, he deleted my comment and he blocked me. Yeah, because he's running a cult, basically. And he can't have any of his followers who send him money waking up to the fact that that's a cult. Suppression of information is a dangerous warning sign. If someone is trying to stop people from asking serious, real, or valid questions, that's a cult. All right, so a little bit more from my notes here. We're going to get through this. Imagine that. The defense of dear leader. Cults are notorious for having cult members do crazy things against people who question or are critical of the cult leader. Where have we seen this before? Again, I talked about that example, Lou Elizondo, right? Somebody comes out with a film about him, and the next thing you know, people are getting doxxed, cyberstalked, threatened, intimidated, harassed. People are telling them to go after that filmmaker, get him, right? That's a cult-like tactic, defending the cult leader. Corey Good. There was literally a Facebook group of Corey Good cult members who sat around and made memes attacking, slandering Corey Good's critics. They were doing that in defense of dear leader. That is a cult. That's a sign of a cult right there. Corey Good was directing them who to attack, allegedly. But there's some evidence of that. So the defense of dear leader is another big sign, right? And also another sign is lack of critical thinking. Don't think for yourself. Just repeat the talking points that are being mind controlled, drilled, brainwashed into your head. And we saw a perfect example of this with this Randy Kramer. Randy Kramer's a fake space astronaut. He's not a real Marine, but people still want to come at me and repeat talking points. Repeat the talking points of a wackadoo, right? Oh, he passed a lie detector test. Yeah, a guy who was a high school English teacher and suddenly declared himself a polygrapher. Sure, yeah, great. Oh, and you can't find his records because he's in secret projects. That's garbage. That's false information, disinformation. And these people, very often when I interact with them, they don't have their own thoughts. They are repeating what has been told to them by dear cult leader. That's a sign of a cult. That's a sign you're in a cult and have been brainwashed. If you don't have thoughts of your own or arguments of your own to make, and instead you're just repeating what the leader or the leader of the cult or the higher ups in the cult told you, that's a sign of a cult. That's cult-like thinking. That's cult-like dynamics. Group dynamics. Group dynamics also plays a part in cults and in the UFO community. We've seen it time and time again. People get banished, right? And by the way, in the example of Lou Elizondo, Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review was literally blackmailed in the defense of dear leader. They tried to blackmail him to help the leader who looked like an idiot, calling people felons and all this stuff, right? They tried to blackmail him into releasing private messages, and they threatened him and blackmailed him in the defense of Lou Elizondo, dear leader. That's a cult-like tactic right there. So we've talked about Corey Good and Lou Elizondo. We've talked about preying on vulnerable people. Now we're going to talk about a lack of financial transparency. Another very, very common tactic and trait of cults is a lack of financial transparency. Hey, this group's making a lot of money, or this leader is making a ton of money. What's going on with all this money? You're not allowed to know. There is a lack of financial transparency in the UFO community for sure. And the best example I could think of this is Dr. Stephen Greer, who routinely collects $500,000 to make a documentary. And now you can show his documentaries to professional documentary filmmakers who have been in that business for 20 years and ask them, what does it take to produce that? How much money do you think is on that screen? And routinely, time and time and time again, I get told things like, there's no way that costs more than $20,000 or $50,000. And then when I tell them that he told everyone this documentary, I need $500,000 for this. And he crowdfunded that. They can't believe it. So what happens to the other $450,000 that he raised? Isn't that a form of fraud when you tell people I need $500,000 to make a documentary and then you only spend 50 of it? Where's the spreadsheets, Dr. Stephen Greer? Can we see how you spent $500,000 on these documentaries like you claimed you needed that money to make the documentary? There is a huge lack of financial transparency in the UFO community. Stephen Greer also ran a free energy scam and collected, I'm told, something like $500,000 for that. And then he never produced anything. No device, nothing. Where did that money go, Dr. Stephen Greer? But don't bother telling his cult members about these things, because then, like brainwashed robots, they start repeating Stephen Greer's talking points about all of that. And excuses. Where did the $500,000 go to make these documentaries? Because it sure didn't go on the screen. Where did the $500,000 go for the free energy device he claimed he was going to create? Because I'm still paying an electric bill every month, Dr. Stephen Greer, you liar, right? And let's talk for a moment about TTSA and the cult-like tactics employed there. They literally promised everybody a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world. What did we get? Nothing. And by the way, again, on financial transparency, TTSA is another perfect example. They raised millions of dollars. Where did all that money go? Nobody knows. Why won't anybody have the balls to ask Lou Elizondo how much of that $3 million he got paid to help those people run a techno scam? That, by definition, what TTSA did is techno scam. They didn't deliver on any of their promises. They lied to investors while soliciting investor donations. Investments. Where did all the money go? Well, if you can make sense of those financial documents, good luck, because it is a rabbit hole, right? I can tell you, though, that Tom DeLonge's Tom DeLonge's sister got paid $150,000 to be a public relations person who, by the way, won't answer any questions about the organization that she's getting paid $150,000 to be the public relations person for. How is that legal? You're getting paid $150,000 a year out of investor money, and I want to ask questions about your public benefit corporation, and you won't answer any questions, even though you're getting paid $150,000? And of course, most of my questions were financial in nature. Wouldn't answer any of them. None. A lack of financial transparency. How much did Lou Elizondo get paid out of that techno scam? How much did Tom DeLonge make out of that techno scam? How much did Hal Puthoff get? Steve Justice or Christopher Mellon? How much money did each of them get out of that techno scam? How much money did the investors get back from that techno scam? They thought they were going to make money. They invested in order to make money. Who made any money in that techno scam? So the lack of financial transparency in the UFO community. Oh, another great example, David Wilcock's charity. David Wilcock collected hundreds of thousands of dollars for his charity. Where did all that money go? Well, near as I can tell, he spent it on himself. One year, he spent $4,000 on meals and entertainment for him and his wife. Must be nice to have $4,000 tax-free money to go out to dinner with, right? So, yeah, a lack of financial transparency is certainly a warning sign of a cult or cult-like behavior. And it's very prevalent. We see multiple, and by the way, I have bullet points here. I don't have this all written down. I'm going from memory, and I can cite you more examples of lack of financial transparency and more and more and more. Oh, MUFON. Here's another one. Where's all the money go that MUFON gets? Right? They collect a lot of money. It certainly doesn't go into investigating UFOs. I can tell you that because I've talked to investigators. In fact, there's a famous case where one UFO investigator for MUFON got a hold of metal samples that were apparently dropped from a UFO and he requested that they get these samples tested in labs. Oh, we don't have money for that. They collect millions of dollars a year to investigate UFOs. They may have the smoking gun evidence and proof of alien visitation on Earth, and they don't want to test those materials. That's a lack of financial transparency. And by the way, MUFON famously sold all of their confidential UFO reports to Bob Bigelow. I think they got millions of dollars for that. And they didn't disclose it until they got caught. And they still won't talk about that. Those are confidential records. They told everybody that they were taking UFO reports from. All your information will be kept confidential. And then they sold their information. Lack of financial transparency. Where's all the money going? There's just big black holes of money all over the UFO community, right? All over. So you cannot question dear leader. That's another point I wanted to make. If you question some of these UFO celebrity cult leaders, you get attacked, doxxed, threatened, intimidated, harassed. People have threatened my family over stuff. It is ridiculous. That's another sign of a cult, and it's something that Scientology did. If somebody questioned L. Ron Hubbard or the current leader of Scientology even, they went after them. They got people out there with cameras in front of their house harassing them, talking to their neighbors, telling them that they're scumbag. Do you know you got a scumbag living next door to you and this and that? Those are cult-like tactics, and it happens in the UFO community. Look at all of this stuff with Corey Goode. He's taking pictures of his critics' houses, and his manager is making videos, right? And by the way, regardless of what I think of Dr. Stephen Greer, Corey Goode's manager made a video calling Dr. Stephen Greer a pedophile with no evidence, no proof, nothing. Why? Because Stephen Greer was critical of Corey Goode. These are the cult-like tactics that happen here in the UFO community. And again, this is just another of the elephants in the room that nobody talks about. Why doesn't anybody talk about this, right? Why doesn't anybody talk about this? Because of the control of information, which is another cult-like tactic. It's all connected here, right? Now, bubbles of delusion. I wanted to talk for a minute about that. Some of these UFO celebrity cult leaders live in carefully created bubbles of their own making of delusional. They're delusional. And what do I mean? Anybody who asks critical questions, anybody who has the ability to critically think and question the narratives that they sell and tell people gets blocked. Look at Linda Moulton Howe, right? I can't go and ask on her YouTube videos, why are you selling provably fake pictures of aliens for money and lying to people? They delete the comment. Why? It's a valid question, right? And by the way, I even try to do it super respectful. Like, excuse me, Miss Howe, it's come to my attention that the pictures that you are claiming are genuine orange-gray alien pictures are, in fact, artist creations. Here is the original source, and I gave her the link. That's a very respectful comment. Just letting her know those aren't real alien pictures. Delete. She deletes the comments. And so Linda Moulton Howe and other of these UFO celebrity cult leaders, they live in a delusional fantasy world, a bubble of their own design, where no one can get close to them and ask them real or hard questions. And by the way, this is enabled by the UFO circle jerkers. We've talked about that before. If you're new here, I'll explain it quickly. A UFO circle jerker is all of these show hosts whose sole job is to help that UFO celebrity or UFO cult leader sell their crap. Don't ask hard questions. Don't question the narrative. If you can find evidence that that UFO celebrity is lying or spreading false information, don't say anything. Just play along and get your clicks and views so you make a little bit of money helping them. That's a UFO circle jerker. So these people, they do all these. Look at Lou Elizondo. Show me a real and hard interview of Lou Elizondo. You can't. The only people that Lou Elizondo would allow himself to be interviewed by were UFO circle jerkers. He wouldn't come here. He wouldn't go to somebody like Green Street or anybody else that would ask him tough questions about his claims. He only went to the circle jerkers so that he could stay in his delusional, self-created bubble where he's some kind of savior of disclosure, and he ran a government program, which, by the way, never existed, except in his own imagination, the land of make-believe, and all you circle jerkers played along. Idiots. You're all idiots. Nobody did their job, right? Or here's another perfect example of the UFO circle jerker circuit. Go look at Randy Kramer. Go see how many people have interviewed Randy Kramer. Then come back to me and tell me how many people brought up to him or questioned him on the fact that all of his military claims are 100% provably fake and false. Not one. I can't find one person. I can't find one person who ever called him on it. Instead, we get people that tell me more about your space battles on Mars, Randy Kramer. That's an enabler of the delusional bubble, the delusion bubble, right? So these people are living in this delusional bubble. But every once in a while, somebody like me comes along and pops that bubble. Pop, pop, pop. And by the way, I have plans. I'm going to start popping some of these delusion bubbles all around the UFO community. If you're a scammer, a liar, a fraudster, or even if you're a circle jerker that's helping these clowns sell their fake nonsense, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, and I'm going to be popping these delusion bubbles that you're all in. Pop, pop, pop. I'm coming. We saw examples of this. My favorite, I think it's everybody's favorite example. Linda Moulton Howe lives in this delusional bubble where nobody asks her hard questions. It's all, oh, you're so influential. Oh, you've been doing this so long. Oh, I grew up watching you. It's all fan UFO circle jerkers that she talks to, that she's interviewed by. Nobody gets to get in there and pop that delusion bubble and say, excuse me, lady, I don't care about your awards. Boxes full of them. Excuse me, lady, you're scamming people selling video game covers as pictures of real aliens. But we got to, because to his credit, Kurt from Theories of Everything agreed to ask one question from me. And he asked her that question, and she lost her goddamn mind. She melted down. She couldn't believe it. She called it, you're being hostile. That's the popping of the delusion bubble, right? We've also seen the popping of the delusion bubble of Richard Dolan on Theories of Everything. Remember that? That guy wasn't who he says he was, even though I stood on the camera and I claimed, I'll have to look into that. Well, by the way, we're still waiting, Richard Dolan. Another example will be shown this weekend. I'll make that Randy Kramer video public. I popped his delusion bubble and forced a show host to ask him about his military service. And you know what happened there? He started yelling and screaming and melting down and cursing and threatening violence against anybody that comes up to him at a conference and demands to see proof of his military claims. That is what happens when a stolen valor fraud gets confronted. They freak. So we've got these delusion bubbles, very similar to cult. And back to the subject, though, of control of information. Did you know that members of Scientology are not allowed to look up Scientology on the internet? They're not allowed to watch anything on television about Scientology. They're not allowed to look at videos about Scientology on YouTube or any other video platform. They're not allowed to read blog posts about Scientology. Why is that? It's the control of information. And we see examples of that in the UFO community as well. Do you know how many people come here and say, so-and-so told me I shouldn't watch you? Yeah. If I was a UFO scammer, the first person on my list that I wouldn't let my followers watch is Truthseekers. And a few others. Why would a UFO circle jerker or UFO celebrity, and by the way, there's other show hosts are doing that too. They don't want their followers to know that they've been lying to them. Some of these UFO circle jerkers I can make look like the stupid ass clowns that they are for participating in fraud with some of these people. And so they tell their audience, don't watch Steve Cambion, don't go over there to Truthseekers. And they make up all kinds of reasons and excuses for why people shouldn't watch this show. The real reason is they don't want you to see the truth. They want to control information. They want to keep you in their delusion bubble. But I'm here to pop it. And I'm glad that so many more are finding us here. Don't you want, and this is a serious question, don't you want the entire story? Do you just want to hear fairy tales? If you do, I can suggest for you 100 other UFO circle jerker shows where you can go hear fun stories about aliens that people claim are true with no evidence, no proof, largely hoaxes and garbage peddled, fake recycled. It wasn't real, in 1970, but we'll recycle this story again. If you want fairy tales, go watch Linda Moulton Howe. If you want to seriously explore these strange paranormal or esoteric topics, and with people who will give you all of the information. We don't control the flow of information. By the way, perfect example. Last night we got in this heated thing. Somebody was telling me about a lie detector test of the people involved with Travis Walton. And I said, no, that test wasn't about UFOs. They didn't even ask him about UFOs. It was about whether he was murdered or not. Well, it turns out I was wrong. They did ask one question about UFOs. I still hold fast that doesn't prove the case or whatever. But we let everybody see that information. That's fine. I was wrong. We'll admit it and we'll move on. And I let the audience see all the information. Other shows don't do that. They give you half the story. That's a cult. A cult gives you only the half of the story that makes them right. Control of information is important. And these cult-like tactics in the so-called UFO community should stop. If someone is telling you who you should or shouldn't watch or listen to or look at or books to read, they're not doing that in your best interest. If someone is trying to control what information you are allowed to have, they are not doing that in your best interest. They are doing that in their best interest. And that's important. Now, there's certainly, I'm guilty of some of that myself. I might say, don't watch this guy. He's a liar and a fraud and whatever. But I have my reasons. I'm not, if you want to watch him, go ahead. You want to be lied to. But it is what it is. And while we're on that subject, let's talk some more about cult-like behavior. And I can think of another example, and that is Third Phase of Moon and Gufon. That's a perfect example of cult-like behavior. Third Phase of Moon gets caught hoaxing over and over and over and over and over again. But they tell Richie Idiot, we changed our ways. We haven't hoaxed anything in 5 years. And Richie Idiot is brainwashed, apparently, because he doesn't have the ability to look at things critically on his own. He just repeats what the cult leaders, Third Phase of Loon, told him to say. And then he starts saying it. We all saw it. Oh, the Third Phase of Moon may have made some mistakes, but they're changing their ways, and they haven't hoaxed anything in 5 years. And then, overwhelming evidence that they have hoaxed things in the past 5 years emerges. Third Phase of Moon give him new talking points and new excuses. Oh, no, we haven't hoaxed anything in 3 years. He starts saying that. Oh, in the last 3 years, Third Phase of Moon hasn't hoaxed anything, right? Then, overwhelming evidence that they had hoaxed things in the past 3 years emerges, right? And by the way, there's overwhelming evidence of this. Now, Rich is back to saying you can't prove they ever hoaxed anything. There is literally 2 complete documentaries, by the way, they're free, on Third Phase of Moon hoaxing things. We have proof that they hoaxed things as early as last year. Rich is so apparently brainwashed and stupid that he just keeps repeating the talking points that the cult is giving him. The cult of Third Phase of Loony, right? Oh no, we don't hoax things, Rich. He lies to his audience. That's control of information. Rich from GoofOn absolutely positively lied to his audience, claiming they haven't hoaxed anything in 5 years. Then he said they haven't hoaxed anything in 3 years. Well, remember, first he said they haven't hoaxed anything. Then he had to change it. Oh, they haven't hoaxed anything in 5 years. Now we're up to they haven't hoaxed anything in 3 years. But lately he's back to they can't prove anything. They can't prove anything. There's literally 2 documentaries full of proof. And talk about being brainwashed. I have clips of Rich saying, I didn't watch that documentary, but I didn't watch that second documentary, but he's been on whole shows talking for 2 hours about how there's no evidence of third phase hoaxing things, while he's saying he completely refuses to watch or listen to the evidence of third phase faking everything. That's a brainwashed idiot right there. That is a perfect example of a brainwashed idiot. Oh, I'm not going to look at the evidence. Now, did Third Phase tell him that he shouldn't watch it? No, I think Rich is like, he doesn't want to see the evidence because he just so desperately wants to believe that he's right and Third Phase are telling him the truth. No, Third Phase is lying to him and Rich is lying to his audience. Then we get the overwhelming evidence that Rich knew the entire time that Third Phase of Moon were accepting and using 100% faked UFO videos on purpose. We had Mr. Ian send them a video, show them how he made it. It was bike lights on a stick reflected in the glass that looked like a UFO in the sky that he filmed. He sends it to Third Phase. He sends it to Rich. He tells them how he faked it. They used it anyway and claimed it was a spaceship. Rich doesn't want to talk about that. He's still saying there's no evidence that Third Phase of Moon hoaxed anything. That's a hoax, Rich. He's a brainwashed idiot. Perfect example of cult-like tactics. And Rich tried to control the flow of information. Third Phase of Moon tries to control the flow of information. They didn't want anybody to see that documentary. So what did they do? They copyright striked it off of YouTube so less and less people would be able to see it. That's control of information. That's cult-like behavior. And who helped them with the control of information and cult-like behavior? Rich from GoofOn, because he took what they said and he repeated it over and over and over again to his audience. He just kept lying and lying and lying again. Haven't hoaxed anything. Haven't hoaxed anything in 5 years. Haven't hoaxed anything in 3 years. Hey, Rich, you dummy. We're up to they haven't hoaxed anything since last week. That is cult-like behavior. Rich is trying to lie to his audience and control the flow of information. He does not want them to see those documentaries. He does not want them to see my show because we have evidence, we have proof. That's another sign of a cult. When confronted with overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing, they don't admit it. They just don't. Will Rich ever admit that he was wrong and Third Phase of Moon keeps hoaxing things as recently as last year or last month or last week? No. He keeps going with the talking points. One of their talking points is, well, we don't post CGI. First of all, yes, they do. But that doesn't excuse all the hoaxes that didn't involve CGI. Again, careful manipulation and manicuring of the data and the information in order to prevent people from waking up from that cult. And make no mistake about it, Third Phase and Grifton are using cult-like tactics and behavior. including the control of information, including brainwashing followers. Oh no, we haven't hoaxed anything. The facts are the facts. Yes, they have. So they want to ignore the facts and just tell their followers what to think about these situations. Let's just tell them what to think, right? Let's not let them see those documentaries. Let's control the flow of information so that we will remember they'll do anything they have to stay in power. Rich ran around calling people pedos with no evidence and no proof. Why? Because they said third phase of moon hoax things. Remember how we talked about how cults will be willing to do, some cults and cult members will be willing to do anything to defend the cult leaders? That's a cult-like tactic. That's something Scientology would do. Run around and call people pedos with no evidence or no proof. Make fun of disabled people in defense of the cult leader? Rich did that. Claim people are faking cancer? Again, it's all fair game. Read L. Ron Hubbard's Fair Game. You do whatever you have to do to silence and shut up those critics. That's what Rich and Third Phase do. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And the fact that there's still some brainwashed, stupid people willing to believe them, at some point, I just have to cut ties and say, I did what I can do. I can't, that old saying, I can lead a horse to water, can't make them drink. Those documentaries are out there. I just had somebody saying that one of their viewers arguing with me on Twitter. You called me a scammer and you don't have evidence. Are you on drugs? Are you insane? I don't have evidence that Third Phase hoaxed anything. Are you insane? There's 2 documentaries, 4.5 hours of evidence. It's all evidence. But that person was brainwashed. That person was brainwashed by Grifton and by Third Phase of Moon, who controlled the flow of information, telling their followers, Steve Campion doesn't have any evidence. He just says things. He's just making things up. He just doesn't like us because we make a lot of money and more. So they brainwashed everybody, telling them he doesn't have any evidence. And then these people come at me repeating what they've been brainwashed with. Well, you don't have any evidence, Steve Campion. There's 4.5 hours of evidence, you dummy. Wake up from the cult. Go watch it. And then come back to me and tell me I have no evidence. Brainwashed idiots. And I apologize. I should be kinder to people who are maybe a little not very smart, easily manipulated by these cult-like tactics. Pardon me. There you go, audio files. I managed to hit the mute button before I coughed. So we are going to remind you that we are a viewer-supported show. And what do I mean by that? This show is supported by viewers like you. It's kind of the PBS model, which I grew up with, and we love that. There's also a way that you can help our show that won't cost anything. If you have an Amazon Prime account, we're now a Twitch affiliate. And greetings and salutations to you Twitch users over there. And thanks to everybody signing up with their Amazon Prime accounts and throwing a couple of bucks our way. It's really free money from Jeff Bezos. But here's Ian. We're going to take comments and questions from the live chat. I want you guys to come up with specific examples of cult-like behavior in the UFO community. And when we return from this very, very short break, I'm going to share and we'll talk about all of them. We'll be right back, friends.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support.
Praise the cash. Just want to do a quick tutorial on how to set up Amazon Prime to Twitch. So if you want to help out Truthseekers show and Steven, I want to put together a quick tutorial. Now, I'm not an expert on this, so I was just playing around. This is how I did it. So you may find a different way to do it, but if you're not sure, I'm going to walk through what I did. First, right up here in Prime Loot. Now, this is on a PC and not Apple. May be different, but at least you're going to see what I'm doing on my laptop. You're going to see Prime Loot up here. Click that on. And here you're going to have in the purple box to activate your free trial, and it's free. So you just go through that. It'll take you to Prime Gaming. From here, you'll see how to activate your Prime Gaming. I don't think this is necessary to get your free subscription to Twitch from Amazon Prime. I just went and did it because I wasn't sure and I was playing around. So if you're not sure if you want to do this, just skip it and go to the next step. Then over, if you do your drop down on your Amazon account, you're going to have this here to say link Twitch account. So I'm going to click that, and all this is going to do, it's going to link your Amazon account with your Twitch account. So you click link down there in that little button, and it's going to have what is your Twitch name and then your name on your Amazon account. And I'm going to have my name blurred out just so everybody's not seeing it. I'm going to click confirm, and it's going to go through the processes. Now my Amazon account is linked to my Twitch account. I go back to Twitch, and I'm on the Truthseekers show, and right here you got Steven's face there. Just come down here to subscribe, click that, and it's going to bring you all the way down here. Now you can subscribe for $4.99. This is very similar to the YouTube membership, where you can become a member on the YouTube side or watch it for free. Here you can subscribe to his channel and pay $4.99 a month, or you can come up here and click this little box, say use Prime sub. Now it's free. Now I get 1 month. Now the thing is every month I have to go out there and resubscribe. Hopefully they're going to send me an email to remind me to do that. Then I can go out there and I can click this every month, and Steve's going to get some money from Amazon. We do not pay for that. This is part of my Amazon Prime subscription. That this is just one of the services. And I didn't realize it, but Amazon bought Twitch. That's the reason they're putting these two together. So I'm going to do click the subscribe button. Now I am subscribed. I got a founder badge and I got some different stuff, and close. And now I am subscribed. I did not pay anything. However, Steven gets some money to help producing the top quality programming that he's been doing. So go out there and praise the cash and sign up for Twitch subscription, especially if you got Prime. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps Steven out. Thanks.
Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, Click the search tool, the little magnifying glass. Put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat group during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Greetings and salutations. So we're back. I'm going to be taking comments and questions from the live chat. Please put them in all capital letters. It makes it a little easier for me to grab them and know that's something that you want to share and have me share on the screen or talk about. It really does help. Sandy Smith is here and says, any questions and they will all turn on you like a wounded chicken. By the way, Sandy Smith is a member. You see that member badge. Thank you for being a member, Sandy Smith. Much, much appreciated. They will all turn on you like a wounded chicken and peck you to death. Ouch. Yes. And that's another sure sign of a cult. If you're not allowed to ask questions, that's a cult, right? Or if they encourage you to not ask questions. I was once at a UFO event and I started asking too many critical questions. And one of the event organizers got me aside and told me that I was ruining the experience for everyone else. And it was kind of funny to me because I thought, because I'm questioning somebody that's literally standing on a stage lying to everybody here, they're spreading false information. I'm not allowed to point that out or question that. No, you're not allowed to do that. You're ruining it. I'm ruining the experience of letting people be lied to. Yes, and thank you. The Out There channel is here. They don't get it. If you debunk, they class you a non-believer, but it's far from the truth. It's a mental thing. Yeah. Well, Space Dude was involved in a group, and he says, well, I thought it was interesting at first because I truly did feel like strange stuff happened from time to time, but it felt very occult-like to me, the way they were tasked in remote viewing. Well, that's interesting. Sweet Caroline saying, PayPal works great as well. YouTube super chats are highway. Well, I can't say anything derogatory, but Sweet Caroline, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And Sweet Caroline did just send a PayPal pledge of $10 saying, praise the cash. Great show like always. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. And we've got UFO John Doe here as well. We'll get to that in a moment, UFO John Doe. Mario Takeo says, Kepsa, it's just about brainwash. That's all these people know, how to manipulate the brain of human. They are idiots. They know about human psychology. Yeah. Yes, and I agree with you 100%. Patty Wilhelm says, how is Greer's contact alien scam different from transcendental meditation? It's not. He was a transcendental meditation teacher and practitioner before he was a UFO guy. So that's where he stole it all directly from transcendental meditation. And by the way, transcendental meditation, if you contact them, they'll send you books and all kinds of materials and stuff. It's free. You don't need to pay Stephen Greer anything if you want to get into that. It's free. But this is a lot like David Wilcock and Corey Good selling courses in the Law of One for $333. The Law of One is also free from the Law of One organization. Right? Sandy Smith, first question, and they all turn on you like you're a wounded chicken. Yeah, and that's another thing. Group dynamics. They shout you down, or the group all encourages you to stop being so critical, right? That's group dynamics. It's peer pressure. It's another cult-like tactic. Absolutely a cult-like tactic, right? Wow. Wow, Space Dude said, they told us they would have aliens that come save us in remote viewing sessions, but nothing ever really happened. I feel brainwashed. Well, sorry to hear that. Awful lot of stuff. Pinzer Flactum is here. Can I get anything like a watch? Bad housewife. Oh, that's terrible. By the way, I joke with my wife that I'm a bad housewife because I'm a stay-at-home dad, technically. I mean, I run a business here, but, I make dinner 5 days a week. sometimes I do a really good job. It depends. Today, my wife said, "Wow, dinner was really, really good. Thank you." So I know I did my domestic responsibilities. I handled them well today, Pinzerflackton. But other days, she's not so happy with me, right? And I'm a man. I'm a good cook though, but there's only so many things I know how to cook, and I hate that every day, trying to figure out what am I going to make for dinner. Nobody tells you that's the hardest part of adulting, but it really is. Every day, oh, I got to make dinner again. I like takeout, not for the food, but just so that I don't have to think about it, right? UFO John Doe says Joe Murgia tweeting that Erica Lukes lost her way when she started the pushback and questioning of UFOs and Skinwalker Ranch. Cult-like personality in his tweets. Yes, and he also does things like humiliate the critics of the UFO celebrities he adores and loves. That guy is a true believer idiot. Sorry, Joe Murgia, you're an idiot. You are an idiot, bro. And someday, 10 years from now, when you have wasted another 10 years, when that guy has wasted another 10 years of his life saying disclosure's coming any minute now, he's going to look back at all those people that he was nasty to who questioned things and feel like the idiot that he is. That is my wish for him. Someday he'll wake up, right? All it's going to take is one of the UFO celebrities to stab him in the back real good, or for him to get a real view of what some of those people he worships are really like, and he'll wake up. I pray that he does sooner rather than later. He called Coast to Coast stating he was a time traveler. Oh, yes, the David Wilcock Art Bell time traveler call. Hotly debated for years. I think it was him. I really do think it was him. Yeah, here's another one. Fessler blocks anyone that disagrees or asks dissenting questions. Yeah, that's cult-like behavior. That'll tell you if Fessler's evidence of whatever he's trying to say is true is so weak it cannot withstand debate. That says everything. That tells you what these tactics are. They're being used for a reason. It is a form of manipulation. Hey, Fessler, why don't you have a free speech zone like we do? Why don't you let people say whatever they want to say, ask whatever questions they want to say? Oh, it's because you're a UFO circle jerker with superpowers, right? And I love how Fessler once interviewed Kerry Cassidy. By the way, that was a while ago. He sold his soul to get monetized. He wasn't monetized yet, and he knew that a big guest like that would put him over the top. So what does he do? He puts Kerry Cassidy on, and then he refused to ask her about how she uses child molesters and murderers as sources for her fake alien stories, right? That's cult-like behavior. Control of information. Don't let your audience know that you're interviewing somebody using child molesters and murderers as her proof of her stories. Control of information. Sure tactic of a cult, right? Do these grifters talk to each other about how they scam people? I believe that they do, and they certainly work together. One grifter will back up the story of another grifter, right? Oh, David Wilcox says that Corey Good is definitely telling the truth. Corey Good backs up other people. You know, they all reinforce each other's fake stories, right? You're like, oh, Andrew Bishago said that Randy Kramer's telling the truth. They're both wackadoos. Who cares? They're both wackadoos. Amy Collins says it can be a fine line between a personal business and a cult. Many start off with good intentions, and before you know it, followers are donating blood to send money. Really, really. Oh, and did I forget? I forgot to praise the cash for you. I apologize there. Let's get Trixie. Trixie, get off the pole. Get off the pole. UFO John Doe sent $4.99, and he's also a member. Get off the pole. You have to thank him. Get off the pole.
This is Trixie from Truthseekers, thanking you for your generosity. I'm gonna praise the cash so hard, your co-creative consciousness is gonna explode all over the cosmos.
Wow, that's something else. And by the way, I do want to apologize. We were going to have fake cousins from Third Phase of Mars, guest host tonight. And although the character and the voice, everything's ready, but I forgot that I had a bunch of production work, video editing and things to do to get ready to make that show possible. So we will be doing that sometime in the near future as soon as the other little bits of that night's show are done. I forgot that I had stuff that wasn't ready. Would you ever consider religion a cult that pushes certain ideologies that control people as well? I mean, historically, that's proven. Yes. And Matthew McLeod, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I am what many people would describe as a recovering Catholic. My family was very, very Catholic, especially my father. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized First Holy Communion, confirmation, confession, all of it. I was an altar boy, and I even spent time at the seminary. And for a time, I was going to be a Catholic priest. My father really wanted me to. And so, and later acolyte, which is kind of like the, teenage version of an altar boy, right? I was super Catholic. But at some point, I woke up to what I believe is the cult-like tactics. Yes, of course, religions use cult-like tactics as well. Just because they're large and aren't generally called a cult, nobody's calling the Catholic Church or a Christian church a cult, but they still can employ and use cult-like tactics. Certainly, the Catholic Church uses control of information. Look how they try to cover up all those sex scandals with the priests. That's control of information. That is a cult-like tactic, right? Yeah, people blocked from fake to black. It's fade to bull. Yes, but I was gone. Yeah, if somebody needs to block you because you disagree with them or one of their guests, that's a problem. Amy Collins says, recovering Catholic, that is something you never outgrow, even if you convert to Buddhism. Believe it or not, Amy Collins, I consider myself a Buddhist, but a non-denominational Christian. And I don't go to a Christian church. Do you know where I pray? In the forest. The forest, Amy Collins, is my church. If I'm feeling like I need some spirituality, I go hiking in the woods, or I sit in the woods and I meditate in the mountains and I pray. No better church for me than the forest, the wilderness, especially in the mountains. I believe in Christ consciousness, and I believe in the example that Christ set for us in how to live your life and, love your neighbor more than yourself and forgiveness. I struggle with the forgiveness part, but I still consider myself a Christian and try to live in those ideals. I'm human. I'm a sinner. I fail miserably sometimes, but I always try. And I always joke that studying Buddhism made me a better Christian, and studying Christianity made me a better Buddhist. And some people, I've had Christian pastors argue with me that you can't be both. And I said, are you God? And he said, no. And I said, well, until God tells me I can't be both, I will be. I believe in the Jeet Kune Do school of spirituality. And that's a principle of Bruce Lee, which essentially goes like this: take that which works for you and discard the rest. And that's what I do. I consider myself fortunate, though, despite my problems with the Catholic Church, to be raised Christian and very, very educated in Christianity and scripture study. And, I had 10 years of that in school, intense scripture study. And so I consider myself fortunate that I was introduced to Christianity or Catholicism. But I had to sort of take it and change it to what worked for me. And what didn't work for me is things like confession For those unaware, the Catholic Church essentially says if you sin, you can't be forgiven between you and God. You have to go to the priest, who is an intermediary between you and God, and he gives you a penance, which is generally prayers to say and recite as penance for your sins. And essentially, I don't like the idea of confession. I think a man and his sins should be between him and God. If I sin and I beg and ask God for forgiveness, I don't need a man standing between me and God to tell me that I'm forgiven, you know? So there's a lot of things of Catholicism that I have discarded, like the concept of confession. And again, I practice others. I have other spiritual beliefs and practices, but I just mixed them all together. And anything that I found beneficial to me, like meditation from Buddhism, specifically, I'm very big on the impermanence meditations. Look that up. And that really was helpful to me. You know, essentially, this too shall pass. Nothing is permanent. And I do those meditations, and then I feel better. So why would I not incorporate that into my spiritual practice and belief? And as far as Christianity, I pull many things from Christianity and try to live a Christian perspective or Christian lifestyle. And I try to treat people. I always try to tell myself that old saying, what would Jesus do? You know, like not long ago, somebody came to me and asked me for help. And there was somebody that I didn't know very well. And they asked me for, it was a big ask. That's all I'll say. They asked me for, you know, a lot of help. And I thought, I don't know this person well enough for them to ask this of me. But I thought about it and I thought, what would Jesus do? Well, this person needs help. I have the capability to help them. I did. And then I felt good afterwards because I did what I believed that Jesus would do. It's just little things like that that I have just kept. Marios is here and says, and I am a Christian Orthodox, but try to stay away from religion. I believe that only God exists, Jesus Christ and the Holy Mary, because I had experiences. Yeah, the Trinity is always weird. Alien Scientist, you need to check out my Twitter. I'm going to send you a thread. I've got a guy who claims that he cracked the secret to anti-gravity, and he's even built some devices that he claims show that it lightens the load. And I'm going to need somebody. He's sort of real challenging. Like, oh, you said you'd have me on a show. I did. This guy talked to me some time ago, and then he said he wanted to come on the show, and I just never got back to him, or I got sidetracked. But now he's coming at me on Twitter, acting like, oh, you don't want to know the truth, Stephen. I have the secrets of anti-gravity. And I'm like, bring it. Well, let's look at it. And so he's got some stuff that he wants to come here and show us, and I would like somebody like you in on that. And, you know, I can give you the clips or the videos to put on your channel afterwards. I'd appreciate your help with that, because people making fantastical claims about cracking anti-gravity, you know, I try to look at his stuff before, Jeremy, and I couldn't make sense of some of it. You know, it just seemed like science fiction babble to me. It didn't make sense, but I'm not a physicist. You are. So I think maybe you, let me look. Or here, we'll show, I'll show you the tweets. Let me show you the tweets. 1 second here. Sonic Gravity Podcast. Do you know him? Here, I'll share my screen and I'll share this with Jeremy right now. And the Sonic Gravity Podcast, if you're watching, we've got it. He says, don't forget, 2 years ago, you said you'd bring me on your show and debunk me. And by the way, I never said I would debunk him. I said I would like to have him on a show and see what he's got. I've invented anti-gravity and the theory of everything, and I know how UFOs fly. I figured it all out. Those are some bold claims, right, Jeremy? That's the wildest, most outlandish claim I've heard anyone make, and I'm waiting for Truthseekers to weigh in. I said, you can bring your best evidence. I'll look at it and tell you what I think. But I tried before, and I can't follow, and I'm no slacker on physics. You know, Jeremy, I'm not a physicist, but I know the basic fundamentals, and what he was showing me before didn't make sense at all to me. Just didn't make sense. Maybe you should build a technology demonstrator so you can prove your theories are correct and not just science fiction babble. And he says, I built 4, generators of AG, anti-gravity engines. I put the rig on a scale and turned it on, and it got lighter. Bring some friends, bring Mick West, Truthseekers, as hard as you can, and let your audience be the judge. If I can explain it to your audience's satisfaction, you win, but you won't. So he's being very challenging to me. And I don't even know what this is, but this is the pictures of his devices that he claims he can put on a scale and they get lighter. And, it just looks like junk from my garage to me, but, and sonic gravity, that's what he goes by. And by the way, for all I know, he's correct. So, I'm more than willing. I like science and anti-gravity for sure. And if he's claiming he cracked the code of anti-gravity and he can prove it, I want to see it. Don't you, Jeremy? Even just to pick his brain and see how this stuff works. So maybe we'll do that. I've invited him. I told him he could come. We'll see what happens, So Jeremy's asking what is his name. It's Sonic Gravity Podcast. It's Brad Voorhees. At Brad Voorhees. I'll put it in the live chat for you so that you can look at that. Or I'll send it to you on Twitter. I'll just send you this on Twitter, Jeremy. Yeah. So maybe Jeremy can come help us take a look at it. Genesis, Jesus Knows Me song is a great parody from the 90s of the fake TV gospel shows. I remember that. I thought it was a great song, Wesley. I thought it was a great song. Third Phase of Moon has some Russia faker with levitating disc. He's clearly using Kevlar string and was doing the magic trick with string passing under. Yeah, I saw something about that. Yeah, I met him. He came down to Mark's lab with his VAG device. He is not classically trained. Well, sometimes the greatest advances in science come from the renegades, right, Jeremy? So, yeah. The Real Gamer says, I'm doing Remeron treatments, which is like a mix of radiation and chemo. So I have to have treatments and ultrasound on my kidneys. Thanks for the kind words. And yeah, we're praying for you. If you're the praying or meditating type, I want you to visualize brilliant white healing light and send it to Gorilla Gamer. If you're a prayer, pray to God for his speedy recovery and return to health. I would appreciate that. I often say this. If you want to have a good relationship with God, don't pray for yourself, pray for others. That's what I do. I rarely pray for myself. I pray for others. He was hard to understand, as I recall, and I did not dare challenge him because the dude is 6'10" and 350 pounds. Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, would you come on here and we'll look at it here? I think it would be fun, right? But we can't get too sciencey and bore the audience for 3 hours talking about particles and, spins and, pole shift polarity designations and stuff. Giant of a man. Well, I'd be more than happy to look at what he's got. But, I'm always suspect, though, Jeremy, because I've looked at a bunch of devices that people brought me, and never once did they do what I was told they did. I've had a few people tell me, oh, you could put it on a scale and it lightens, and then they bring it and it doesn't. So, and then there's always suspicion about the testing devices used. I'm even hesitant to do it on a video because I want to be in front of the thing with my own test devices. And funny guy, yeah. He had me laughing harder than I ever have. Well, good. Then he's a fun guy. Yeah. So, Brad, you're welcome. You're welcome to come on the show. Show us your device. But listen, Brad, I don't want you to be like challenging. We can be friends. Be friendly. I'm not here to debunk your device. I'd love to look at it, hear more about it, see how it works, if it works. But I'm not here to debunk it, And I don't understand. People think I just know Mick West. Like he wanted me to bring, like, I'm just going to call up Mick West. Mick West, this guy said he cracked anti-gravity. Get over here and prove him wrong. Like, that's not what we do here. But yeah, although I would love to have Mick West on too. Sure, that'd be great. Pragmagic. Cambion's just jealous. Where's that video? Is it still on your Twitter? I think I could play it. I'm just jealous. Yeah, I'll see if I can't find that. You don't tweet that much. I should be able to find it. I remember. Pragmagic is making fun of me on Twitter. He got a 80s sampler, right? And said I was oh, here it is. Yeah, let's share that. Let me try that again. Pragmagic is making fun of me on Twitter because his drums sound like tin cans and garbage cans, and he posted this thing with drums that sounds like garbage cans, and he said these drums sound great, and I said great is a relative term, I guess. So he decided I was jealous of his garbage pail drums.
Steve Cambion's jealous. 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 Steve Cambion's.
All right, I'll do that, Jeremy.
Steve Cambion's jealous. Steve Cambion's jealous. Steve Cambion's jealous.
Not funny. I don't think that's funny one bit. And by the way, your drums still sound like garbage cans, okay? And I mean, that could be good if you're looking for drums that sound like garbage cans for your songs, but yeah. Yes, I did interview John McAfee. Just go to our YouTube channel main page and go and hit the little search bar and search for John McAfee, and you'll see an interview that I did with John McAfee. Yeah. They were recorded on my Bluetooth earpiece. Well, send me a WAV file of them recorded on a real microphone if you're going to claim your drums sound great. At least they play drums. I use drum machines and loops and stuff. I don't outsource drums. I haven't had somebody play drums for me in a long, long time. And by the way, I have a digital kit. Sometimes I actually do play them, but you know, does it really count as playing them if you play a beat like 3 times and you just sample it and loop it? I don't know, right? But I'm sure I've heard loops in your stuff, so don't get all uppity and arrogant, Mr. Musician, right? Hey, Pragmagic, what's the difference between a musician and a pizza? Did you hear me, Pragmagic? What is the difference between a musician and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Oh! I outsource to robots. Yeah. That's why my drum tracks are always perfect, and yours are a little sloppy there. Little sloppy there, Keats. Yeah. Yeah. I am going to bounce on out of here myself. We're going to call this, well, for us lately, it's a short one. And we will be back tomorrow night. I have a fun announcement here. Let me get over there. 1 second. I'm going to try to do something here. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And, oh, wait a minute. I need the .org. Yes. So one of the things that's interesting is that we have a lot of believers here, but we very rarely had an actual skeptic from any kind of, there's skeptic organizations. We haven't done that. And this week we're going to do that because tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, my guest will be Brian Dunning. And Brian Dunning is an American writer and producer who focuses on science and skepticism. He's hosted the weekly podcast Skeptoid since 2006, and the author of this series of books on the subject of scientific skepticism, some of which are based on the podcast. And he's got some excellent books on sort of debunking different conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I'm just trying to find a, yeah, now I can't find it. Oh, this is a great picture here. So tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to have the host of Skeptoid. Yeah, Brian Dunning. And that's great. Yeah, and this is from one of his events. The book that I have that I really enjoyed, came out a few years ago, Conspiracies Declassified, The Skeptoid Guide to the Truth Behind Theories by Brian Dunning. And this is the book. You can get it on Amazon. Oh, it didn't go to that page. Hold on. Why did it not go to that page? There we go. Share this tab. There we go. So excellent author, very skeptical guy, but, you know, being somewhat skeptical myself, I think it would be good. And we want to have people from both sides of the aisle, both super believers and super skeptics. So tomorrow night, 9 p.m., he and I are going to have a great talk. I hope you will be here with us. And yeah, and also, got blurry like Bigfoot. Blurry like Bigfoot. I'm still blurry like Bigfoot. There we go. And tomorrow, we're actually going to have a double banger. That sounds dirty, but it's not. Double banger. Sounds good to me, right? Tomorrow, so I have been planning on doing more shows on true crimes. And there's a case that I've been following very closely. You may be familiar with it. It's the Idaho murders in Moscow. And one second. Let me just... Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to have a special guest who lives right there where the Idaho college murders took place. And he's got new video, never before seen, of the house where the 4 murders took place, and more, an incredible insight into what exactly happened when the town sort of got locked down and people were all scared because they thought well, they were right. There was a mass murderer running around the town. So tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do that. And we're going to talk all about the Idaho student murders, the arrest of this suspect, and the likelihood that he's the guy. And interestingly, the person they arrested was a criminology PhD major who tried at various times to become a police officer himself. Very strange guy. So tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll do a rare college show. What I've decided to do is, I know that the true crime is sort of not our usual wheelhouse, so we'll get half the viewers. So when we do these true crime shows or specials, I'm going to do them in the afternoon. Tomorrow is the first one. Come there. Let me know what you think. If true crime's not your thing, I get it. Just wait for the 9 p.m. show. We'll be in our usual wheelhouse. So tomorrow, double banger, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys are making me work here, right? You guys are really making me work this week, but it's okay. Yeah, I'm hopeful that I will get to go to the cabin again this weekend. I'm still a little nervous about the weather. We'll see how that pans out. But tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be covering the Idaho student murders with a special guest. And I got to tell you, it's going to be interesting. So if you do like true crime, it would be very, very good for you to be here. And we had this guest on our panel, and he will be here tomorrow. And I thought it would be interesting to have him because he lives right in that town, and he got to get us. And his name is Aaron. You saw him maybe on the Twitch only panel stream show. We talked about the case for a little while, but tomorrow we'll do 2 hours on it. 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, Aaron will be my special guest talking about the Idaho student murders. And then 9 p.m., we will have a wonderful interview with Brian from Skeptoid, which is a podcast that I really recommend. I really recommend. So that's all we got for you, friends. And I am going to bounce on out of here. Also, I wanted to let you know before I go, let me get that back. I want to show, before we go real quickly, I want to show you something, and that is Patreon benefits. A few people have asked me what you get. Well, you get one of the things you get is early access to the production videos, not the live shows, but the produced videos. So here I just wanted to share with you what people got this month. This is my Randy Kramer meltdown video where you see him yelling and screaming and cursing at me and threatening to punch me in the face for asking him about his military records. It's a laugh riot, I think. That was posted, and we have this video about Elena Danyan. She basically takes Corey Good to the woodshed in this video and talks about how the aliens told her that Corey Good lost his way. It's really funny. And we have Corey Good deposition fallout, early access as well. And these are all videos which will be these 3 videos and this one. We have members and Patreon only music video of my latest song. It's called Demons. So those are the 4 videos that were given to Patreon and YouTube channel members early this month. And there will be more next week. Every week, I'm going to be posting the produced videos to Patreon and to channel members early. And then on the weekends, and by that I mean Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, these produced videos will debut. Now, they're not real long. These are short form videos. They're 10 or 15 minutes, some of them less. But these are the fully produced videos with all the bells and whistles, lights and sound and camera and action and music and animations and things like that. So we'll be debuting those this weekend. But if you're a YouTube channel member or a Patreon supporter, you get them a little bit early. You get the goodies early. So I hope that helps for the people who sent me some messages asking what you get in the Patreon. I get it. You know, I signed up for a few people's Patreon and I was disappointed. I don't want anybody to be disappointed. So I'd like to raise awareness. This is what you get. Also with Patreon and the YouTube channel member, you get the backstage pass. We do like a monthly show journal about what went on and whatever, and some other goodies. Usually there's some music in there from me and other extra goodies. That's what you get for your $1 for Patreon, $1 or more, or $5 for the YouTube channel membership. That's what you get. Some extra goodies, right? And you always get everything early before everybody else. People mentioned maybe I should do Patreon and members only stream. I'm trying to figure out how to do both at the same time. It's a little complicated, but if we can do that, sure, I'll do that once a month as well. Otherwise, yeah. So we're going to have at least a few more shows this week. 2 tomorrow, and God knows, I think I might be done. If I go to the cabin, I'm done. We'll do the 2 tomorrow, then we'll just do these other videos, produced videos, as premieres. And I'll be in the live chat, even if I'm in the cabin or I have to walk to the main road with my phone. I did that once. Like, oh no, a video is debuting and the internet went off because it's freezing cold. I walked to the main road to talk to you people in the chat from my phone. Yeah, so we are going to bounce on out of here. And that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
I believe that you will agree with me when I say that in the last few months, and especially the last few weeks, that the anointing of the Holy Spirit on the telecast has been exceptional. The letters that we are receiving, the comments that you are giving us, but above all, it's just there. And we thank the Lord so much for it, because it is the anointing that breaks the yoke. It breaks that yoke asunder, whatever the yoke may be. I want to thank you also for the help that you gave us last week concerning the appeals that we made, how we are rejoicing. I wish I could give you a total now. I can't. I just can't. I don't have it yet. But I'm asking you, please. God spoke with a lot of you that did not respond. And we love you and we thank you, but when God speaks to you, I know he'll bless you if you will respond. And if you could send a gift of $50